an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Unspoiled, covering Doctor Who, Season 4, Episode 6, The Poison Sky, Part 2 of 2. In this episode, isn't there a Doors song about setting the sky on fire? The Doctor does it. It works out. It looks very scary. I thought maybe it would work out. It'd be pretty great if one of these seasons just ended with him accidentally burning the entire planet of Earth to a crisp. Welcome to Unspoiled. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am Natasha.
I'm Jamie.
So, yeah, this episode ends with fucking Martha back on board.
Yeah.
And I do not know what to expect at all now. I'm really, excited about it. I like it. I don't expect for her to stick around for more than, one more episode. But also, I am very much in favor of two companions to gang up on the Doctor. So, I'm here for this. But I'm also Martha is just starting to have a life and do her own thing. And this interruption, I feel might be a problem for her in that regard. So
well, the good thing about a time machine is that they could just drop her back right where they took her from.
That's true. I guess I'm just so used to the TARDIS doing whatever the fuck it feels like that I forget it can be directed ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because, she just tries to get out and it's bitch, no. And slams the damn door in her face.
Well, it must need her for something.
Something. So, yeah, I don't know. I'll be very interested to see what her skill set is that's so specifically needed for whatever it is that they face down with next. But I'm here for it. I like it.
I'm just glad to have real Martha and not this clone Martha.
Oh, yeah, clone Martha. She's good at being weird and just a little bit off from herself.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what that's like. And I don't mean as far as the actress, but can you imagine seeing a version of yourself and getting a better look at what you look like in everyday life to other people? I really don't think I would enjoy that at all.
I don't think I would either.
We all have this unconscious thing that we do when we look in the mirror and we just automatically adjust the way that we stand and hold our head to be the most attractive and flattering angle. And we don't even realize that we're doing it anymore because it's so sort of automatic that then we see candid photos of ourselves that somebody took and we want to literally kill them for having the audacity to take this and post it somewhere, or even, just take the photo at all is insulting. So
how dare you post something where I'm in the background looking like a weird troll? Get rid of that.
Oh my God. My friend got married last year. And Owen and I were the only people at this wedding who were consistently dancing from the beginning to the end of the time when music was playing. We were the first ones out on the floor and the last ones off. And the photographer apparently enjoyed us because about 25% of the photos that she got were of me and Owen dancing. Let me tell you, folks, I was in a costume because of the style of wedding that it was. And in the best of times, getting stills taken when you're dancing, if you are not a professional dancer, it's not great. In this outfit, it was even less great. Oh, it was so bad. And she posted them and then tagged me. And I was I can't believe, I thought we were friends. I can't believe that you would do this. It is so bad. Oh, God. Yeah. It looks like I've got about 14 chins and no neck. And my, like, upper body is completely, like, disproportionate because of the way that I'm moving in a couple. It's real, like, it's not just unflattering. It's like, is that a person? It's not good. So I just always look at moments like this. Like, she sees a copy of herself, like, collapsed on the ground, an angle at which I'm sure she has not seen herself, the likelihood of getting a photo taken in that position or something. So I feel like that must be really off-putting and, like, startling, you know?
Yeah.
No, don't like it.
Yeah, I don't even feel comfortable when, like, there's some grocery stores, like, when you do the self-checkout. Now,
self-checkout, and they have the fucking
camera. And I'll look up and be like, oh, like,
yep.
I was not expecting to see me looking back at me. I hate it. It makes me uncomfortable, and then I'm, like, all awkward and like, oh, God, this camera is on me. Like, I understand there's probably cameras on us everywhere we go now. But I don't have to see it.
Definitely.
And I don't need to see myself. There's a reason I'm not an actor. I just don't think I'm a very photogenic person, and when I have to look at myself on camera, I'm just like, oh my God, I hate me.
Girl, same. I have to take, like, people will be like, oh my God, you're so pretty on my selfies, and I'm like, this is number 40 of 39
right?
failures
Yeah.
that I couldn't share or even look at. I had to delete it with my eyes closed because it offended me so much.
You know how hard it is to take a decent selfie when you're trying to capture how cute your cat is being on your lap? And then you're like, oh, wait, hold on, Malcolm, please don't move. Please don't move. Just stay the way you are so I can get this right because I look like a troll. Okay, wait, nope, that one didn't come out good either. And I have to take like 50 pictures of me and my cat before he gets off my lap.
It's a struggle, man. I mean, the one thing I can say is that at least we're in an age now where we can see the fucking selfie when we're taking it.
True.
Because we used to live in the fucking dark age where you just hold the fucking box up and press a button and be like, hope I was in that.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yep.
So at the very least, I feel good about that.
We are unfortunately also in the age where people can take pictures of us and we have no control over them posting them. And then we have to be like,
tag
can
us.
You not post that? Like please delete it. I don't want my face out there in looking like that. Please, please. No, I'm just going to untag myself. Goodbye.
So yeah, anyway, it's the Hermione in Prisoner of Azkaban just being like, is that really what my hair looks like from the back?
Oh yeah, like it looks so bad.
Exactly. Yep. I mean, listen, we have an idea in our heads of what we look like when we do certain things. I mean, a lot of people talk about doing podcasting and hearing their own voice in a recording and how they can't handle that. Imagine how much worse it is being on camera and seeing yourself like...
Yeah, there's a reason I hate when you make me be on camera.
Listen, you don't even participate in the on-camera stuff that Facebook auto thumbnails. Because that's my favorite. When you do a Facebook Live and it just selects a random thumbnail for that video on your feed. And I have more than once been like, who is, oh my God, that's me. Like genuine like reaction of just like, who is allowing themselves to be, oh no. And you can go in and edit to make sure it picks a different one. But sometimes, spoilers, there isn't a good one. And you have to pick one. And it's not good at all, any of them. It's very upsetting.
Oh, yeah.
But then I wind up with classics like the voyeur episode of the season 1 finale of Veronica Mars, in which my mouth is open in shock/fear. I have a blanket half pulled over my head and I'm peeking out from underneath it. And that's just a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one.
So then sometimes it works out. So anyway, this episode, I love how we just don't talk about the episode for the first 20 minutes of any of these podcasts now. So we have this, like, kind of, first of all, the confrontation between the clone and the doctor. It's not even a confrontation. It's just more like, yeah, I knew you were there. I suspected that he knew that she was a clone by a certain point. But when is it that he figures it out? Is it just when she's acting weird about getting her family out of there?
No, I think he knows right away. He says to her later that she has a smell. Like the clone has a smell. It's not Martha. I think he knew, and he wanted to let it play out and see what she was up to, what this clone was doing. And also wanted to make sure that Martha was alive. So letting the clone lead him where he needs to get to find actual Martha.
Okay. I like that he could tell by her smell. There's a weird thing.
Yeah, but like it plays to the audience like we don't know if he knows. He's acting suspicious because she's not acting exactly like Martha. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't completely obvious. It was almost like, well, he suspects something, but why would he suspect a clone? Until he explains it, he just knew.
Yeah, it's interesting that like she's not acting like herself completely, even though she has all of Martha's memories. And I wonder how that works exactly. Like apparently those memories don't, like she can tell their memories. Because that was kind of the thing that I wasn't sure was, you know, when you have a, for example, an android or a replicant or something, they can't tell the memories they have aren't their own. But apparently she has enough distance, so she is aware that this is coming from somewhere else.
Well, it's like,
right?
It's like the memories for this clone are just data. She's aware of the facts, but she doesn't have any of the context or the mannerisms of Martha. She just knows what Martha knows. But she doesn't know who Martha is, you know? So she's not behaving like Martha.
Right. That makes sense. So we see her going into the, I don't even know what you want to call it, sort of like the control room, I guess.
Yeah,
and
like
taking over some guy's spot at a desk and getting into a security system. And she, as we find out later, winds up like hooking her phone into the nuclear controls for the release of weapons.
Yeah, it's the NATO like nuclear missile.
Right.
Because they're
I love the fact that she's able to get into this with like a 7-digit password. And that's all it needs. Like, yeah, it's fine, but it's one of those things like I need more than that just to access my fucking bank account with my bank. It's so,
now.
Listen, I understand 2-factor authentication is better and safer, and I appreciate that, but also like just let me get to my shit, man. I don't want to do this every time. Fuck. You know what I'm saying?
With my work, we can access it. It's like my personal info that's on our hub, and I can go there to get like copies of my pay stubs or to change my tax information or whatever. But the password for it is different than the password that I have to use to log into everything else. And I have never once remembered what password I set up. So every time I want to log into this thing, I have to change my password. And you can't use a password that you've used before. If you try to use something that's too similar, it'll stop you and say that's too similar to a previous password. So I have to come up with something.
Annoyed about that.
And the reason I forget it all the time is because, well, I don't remember because I can't use the passwords I normally use. I've used every variation of the passwords I normally use. So what the hell was I thinking the last time I logged into this? And I can never remember. And it's like, it has to have a capital letter, a lowercase letter, a number, and a symbol. Well, what symbol did I use? What fucking word did I use? I don't even know. And that's...
Your next password should be, what fucking word did I use? Question mark, question mark.
I have honestly at times thought of just putting, this is so fucking stupid, exclamation point.
And again, I understand the value of making different
I
passwords
totally
and not
understand
having
it.
them all be the same thing. Like in theory, yes, I get it. But like in practice, oh my fucking God, I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
I really can't.
And I also like don't want to put my passwords like in a file on my phone or something, because what if my phone gets stolen? Somebody manages to get into it and then they have all my passwords. So that's also why if I have to come up with one on the spot, I'm like, if I can't use one of the variations of what I always use, I'm never going to remember it, but I'm also not going to make, a note on my phone saying that's what this is.
Right.
Because I'm not super paranoid about getting hacked, but I'm just paranoid enough. Like, well, I'm not going to have all my passwords saved on my phone.
Chris Tex, a.k.a. Money, was talking about getting me a LastPass subscription for Christmas. And that is an app. And apparently them just getting your phone isn't enough for them to actually access all of your passwords. Like, things are protected, but the idea of having them all written in one place just feels like the antithesis of good internet hygiene.
I do have a little like sticky on my computer. If you have a Mac, which I know you do, Stickies is one of the little apps, like programs that's already on there with my passwords, like a lot of my passwords, but I have them all in code. So there's no way that if anybody were to see it, they would know what my code is. I know what my code is, but even that, I'm like, what if I forget what I meant when I wrote this code that I made up?
Totally. Oh my God. And then there are things that don't have like a fixed, like some places you have to like answer security questions to get access to a thing. And the security question isn't totally like objective. So it'll ask you something like, well, what was your first job? And you're like, well, I can't remember if I said like my first paid job or my first like volunteer job or internship. And that's another thing that drives me bonkers is questions that don't really have like an answer that leaps to mind as being definitive.
Yeah.
And then I have to,
there's one at work. One of the many password or like security questions that you can choose is where's the farthest place you traveled by the time you were 18, which is such a weird question.
It is.
And like, what if you think, oh, I guess it was Los Angeles. And then later on you're like, you remember like, oh no, remember that time I went to Japan? But you don't remember which one you put.
Right. Exactly.
Like what was I interpreting this as when I answered it?
So anyway, it just takes a password and she has access to all of our codes somehow. It's fine. So we cut to fucking Radigan. This guy is such a fucking dope. I'm so glad he dies. And he is over here. What does he scream? Like something like, yeah, this is war. And the look that he gets on his face is so like over eager and so fucking like he's such a poser, man. He's such a fucking poser. He's like getting all pumped about how this is war, where he isn't exposed to anything like actual war. Sure. You're up here in your fucking jeans and t-shirt in an air-conditioned spacecraft, I assume, watching it all on a fucking screen, and then like acting like you're a real badass. And I hate you. I hate you so much, and I love how much everybody around you, when you go back down and try and share your fucking creepster fairy tale with everybody, has no patience for it. That one girl, like, oh, really? We're going to breed? And he's like, I created a breeding program, yes. And she just, like, snorts and is like, all right, buddy. It's like, correct reaction, ma'am.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah, and I like how all of them were like, I have a family. I need to go check on my family. And he's just this lonely little loser who ostracized probably everybody else in his life when he, got rich at 12.
Right.
And, doesn't have anybody who cares about him or anyone to care about. So when something like this is happening, he's like, what do you mean you have a family? What's a family? What does that mean? Mm-hmm. You guys are all lonely losers like me, right?
This is like, and we've all worked with this person. This is like a person that you work with who prides themselves on always being available when you need extra help, always staying late, always just doing a little too much. And it's like, that other people have children or spouses or other jobs or hobbies that mean something to them. But this person does not. And they make a lot of snide remarks about the fact that other people aren't pulling their weight or aren't really committed or whatever. And it's like, no, it's just that you're kind of sad and don't have the things in life that some people have and seem weirdly to take pride in that fact, which is not really normal.
When I worked at a talent agency in LA, we had merged with this other agency, and the owner of that agency was this little troll of a man who would make me and the other assistant stay until he was ready to go home. And he would deliberately do this on Friday nights, knowing that we wanted to leave so we could go hang out with our friends and be social. It's Friday night. And he would make us sit there until 8 or 9 o'clock at night just because he had nothing else to do. There was nothing going on. It was a Friday night. New York, they were already 3 hours ahead, so there was nothing coming out of New York that we were going to have to work on. And everybody in the industry in LA was like done at 5. Like all the casting offices and stuff closed at 5. We had literally nothing to do, and he would make us sit there because he was a lonely little creep who had no friends and resented the fact that we had things we wanted to go do.
Yeah. Yep. There's nothing quite like somebody who acts like you really should dedicate yourself more to a garbage job that you don't care about. You don't intend to make this your life's work. And they have. They have worked at this job for like 30 years. And look at the fact, they see the fact that you aren't as committed as them as a mark against you, either because of your age or something about your personality. And it's like, no, I just really want better than this, so I'm not that worried about it. Yeah. But yeah, this is just drives me nuts. So yeah, he's just such a fucking doofus. How does it feel, boy? Magnificent. What do you mean magnificent? You are literally playing a video game right now, is essentially what you're doing. You don't know what any of this is. It's just your sad little self taking out your petty revenge on people that you feel who have wronged you. This is like white boy terrorism 101 right here. I mean, go watch The Joker if you guys are interested in more. I'm sure that you'll be satisfied with it. Listen. And the whole idea of like, everybody made fun of me because I was clever. Did they? Or did they make fun of you because you're a weird, creepy poser with no life and you don't care about people?
Right.
And you're like just not good.
Maybe people didn't want to be your friend because you suck.
Yeah, exactly. So we get a little bit of like a news segment where they're talking about, they finally figured out that like Atmos is the thing that's releasing this gas, but there is no apparent way to shut it off. It just keeps coming, which, I'm picturing poison gas that's coming out of a canister, but it doesn't seem like it's like that, or at least if it is, it's a alien canister that has a lot more supply in it than something we would have. Because this shit is going to continue to happen until the entire atmosphere has been changed. Hence the name Atmos. Not Atmos. System, though.
No.
Because
that's
the last
redundant.
Letter is an S, and that's... listen.
It's not an ATM machine.
That is one of those things that, like, I know it to be true, and I tend to be that kind of pedant who is just like, don't, but I can't give a fuck. And it hurts me a little bit that I've come to a point where there's something that I know that I would normally have cared about that I don't anymore. But here we are. So the doctor comes in and says, whatever you do, do not engage the Centaurans in battle. There is nothing they like better than a war. Just leave this to me. What are you going to do? I've got the TARDIS. I'm going to get on board their ship. And he's announcing this all very loudly so that Martha, clone Martha, hears him and makes sure to let them know what the plan is going to be so that they can go and take the TARDIS away. And he won't be able to get on their ship the way that he planned. Except that he has put Donna in it. And the whole point was to get her on the ship. So, yeah. These two, I just have been watching Vikings again. I'm so distracted by the fact that this is Rollo now that I can't get past it when I'm watching this. He fine. Damn. Wouldn't mind a couple clones of Rollo. Get 6 or 7 of those.
You know what we didn't learn is whether or not these two are clones of the actual guys, or if they've been like
brainwashed.
Yeah, brainwashed.
That's true. How were they taken down? It was like a kind of taser thing, right?
Yeah, it was like they were shot in the legs and they couldn't move, and then
right,
they were smart and so useful in some way or another.
Smart. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I assumed that that they were clones. Because I haven't seen any evidence that they can just take over somebody's brain like that.
Yeah.
Right?
But then there was no, like they found real Martha hooked up to the machine or the vat of whatever. Right. But the other guys weren't.
Maybe they don't need memories. Martha needs to be undercover as herself. But these guys can just be drones, essentially.
Yeah. And, their plan was to clone the entire planet.
Right.
Because the Sontarans themselves are clones.
Which is so weird. I mean, they said at one point, he says, how can you tell each other apart? And they say, we say the same about you. And then to find out that they're clones, it's sort of like, they don't all look alike, though, right?
I mean, they mostly...
It's not like they're not all clones of the same person.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
They mostly look alike, but it's not an Orphan Black situation where they have the exact same face and...
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they go and take it, and... clone Martha does not know that she is being set up. The doctor asks her to come with him. And he's like, but where's the TARDIS? But now I'm just stuck here like some regular normal person. And at this point, I was suspicious on whether he knew what she was or not. But it was just understated enough that I was like, maybe not. Maybe he hasn't figured it out yet. Because it's hard to tell sometimes when the doctor is like him being like some normal person. I mean, no offense, but come on. It could easily be him overdoing it for the sake of this moment. Mm-hmm. But he also does talk like that sometimes. So yeah. I was just like, oh, I can't decide. And she asks, so what do we do? And he says, it's shielded. They could never detect it. And he looks at her and she says, what? And he then immediately changes the subject. I was just wondering, have you phoned your family and Tom? And she, bewildered, goes, no. What for? And he's like, well, 'cause they might, die. Just thought maybe you'd want to let them know. And she realizes her mistake and is like, oh, yeah, of course I will. But what about Donna? Listen, stop it. And he says, she's gone home. She's not like you. She's not a soldier. And then I was like, oh, okay. So he knows because he's straight up lying now. But I didn't know how he could know. Of course, I was delighted that he knew because there's nothing quite like watching a thing where somebody is behaving weirdly and there are signs and the person isn't catching on.
Yeah.
And this isn't even that obvious. It's not like there have been, I mean, especially if you grew up in the 90s with some of the bad sitcoms meant for families / kids, where somebody gets hit on the head and suddenly starts acting differently. Stefan or Kel shows up out of nowhere. There are a lot of moments where people are like, I don't understand this. You're acting very weird. And it's like, he got bonked on the head. Just go bonk him again on the head and he'll go back to normal and it'll be fine. But was that not like a trope, right?
Yeah.
Getting hit on the head and your whole personality changes?
Yeah. Well, there's also like when people are like completely oblivious to the thing that's happening right in front of them. And you're like, but why aren't you noticing their very obvious lying face right now?
Lying. Yeah. I am trying to remember there was some show and I don't know if it was on TGIF. Fucking TGIF. Oh, I love it. I typed in TGIF on Google and it says TGIF lineup. Appreciate it. Step by Step. That was the show. And there was some like dumb guy on that who gets hit on the head and becomes really smart. And I think he is like, it's more than he's just smart. He's also like kind of psychic, like low-key. And it's all because he got hit on the head. And I remember as a little kid just being like, you dopes. You all saw him get hit on the head. You all were standing right there. How do you not understand what is happening right
If
now?
only getting a concussion would make us all smarter or, you know, more suave, well-spoken. But no. Concussions just actually make us stupider and also probably give us brain disease.
And the thing is, like, with shows like that, you know, he becomes like borderline psychic and smart. But then when he accidentally gets hit on the head and turned back into who he was, everybody's like, we missed you so much. No, you didn't, you liars. You loved this new him and you miss him and you're sad. Admit it. But I would spend seasons waiting for them to get hit on the head again, for that to come back. And it wouldn't, and I'd be so bummed. I always thought that this was going to be like a recurring thing. Stefan or Kel came back a couple times, right? I think there was like 3 different episodes.
You know, I don't remember that show very well. I mean, I watched it, but I don't remember. I think by the time that character appeared, I had already stopped watching Family Matters.
Let's see.
That's what that show is called, right?
I know this is riveting. Yeah, Family Matters. During the 5th season episode, Dr. Urkel and Mr. Cool, Urkel devised the ultimate plan to win Laura's heart, transforming his DNA using a serum called Cool Juice to suppress his nerd genes and bring out his cool genes.
That was just because What's-His-Face just wanted for once to not be playing the nerd. Because he tried so hard in real life to be the cool guy. Not be known as Urkel.
In his premiere episode, Stefan apparently hated his nerdy alter ego, calling him an annoying, clumsy nerd and the village idiot. She demands that he stop being narcissistic and selfish and return as Urkel at once, which he grants after eating a tablet containing the antidote to Steve's coolness elixir.
Oh my god.
In Stefan Returns, Steve later improved the formula to limit the negative effects and redubbed the formula Boss Sauce. Oh god, I love it so much! Oh god, I love this so much. He also created a transformation chamber which allowed him to turn into Stefan for extended periods of time, as well as avoiding developing rashes in personal areas. This time he was a more likable person. He changed into Stefan several times, even while dating Myra, but some circumstance caused him to change back into Steve each time. So Stefan comes in and out, that's delightful. I need to go rewatch some Family Matters. That needs to happen.
I was on another podcast recently. It hasn't aired yet, but one of my questions was about Family Matters, and I, for the life of me, could not remember the name of that show, which meant I got the question wrong. I was like, I can see it. I can see what show it is. I know what all the characters are, and I cannot remember the name of that show. And when they said it, I was like, God damn it, that's what it was. Family Matters. So now I'll remember it forever. Because it contributed to me not doing well in that game.
Oh, good. Well, as long as the reasons are fair and valid. Oh no. He moved on with his life after he learned from his mistake in the episode Crazy for You, when he teamed up with Myra to stop their date. Before the events of Crazier for You, he felt guilty for stopping Steve from dating Laura. Stefan also tells him that he suspects Myra was stalking and spying on him, which proves to be true when Steve learns about the illegal surveillance gear in her room and confronts her for her actions. What?
Dark for a TGIF show.
Whoa.
When did that show become about him and not about the actual family?
I don't know if, this is over the course of, 10 seasons.
Okay. That show was on for 10 years?
Yeah,
wow.
Apparently. But yeah, he marries Laura. And then there's, a divorce and everything. What?
What?
This is so bonkers.
Oh my
God.
Yeah, I had definitely stopped watching by that point.
And there's an episode called Death of Stefan.
Oh my God.
Which, I love it. I gotta find it, guys. Is it on Hulu? I'm gonna have to find it. But anyway, so I'm gonna do an unspoiled Family Matters.
Oh God, don't encourage people.
So yeah, this is the moment when Radigan announces to everybody what their work has really been all about. And tells them basically that we're going to abandon all these losers, these dumb earthlings who hate us, and go make some sort of weird utopia with one another and my breeding plan. And unsurprisingly, literally everybody's like, well, thanks, I'll pass. And he does not understand it. And as they begin to run off to find their families, he just stands there screaming, I'm cleverer than you. I'm cleverer than all of you. I'm clever. I'm clever. And it is so sad. Did you notice his American accent this time?
I did.
Is he actually American, or did they just have him do an American accent for whatever reason?
I don't know. I could look it up.
Nah, it's fine.
Family Matters is on Hulu.
Yes.
Looks like 9 seasons, which I think is how long it aired. There you go.
Oh, okay. So, because it said something about season 10, but I think that was if season 10 had actually aired, because they started talking about him stopping a wedding or something else. So, the doctor sends a message to the Centaurians. What are they called again?
Centaurans.
And basically is like, y'all are a bunch of bitches. You're just sitting up there in your ship, watching the Earth die, and acting like you're at war. It's pathetic. It is absolutely cowardly. There's no honor to this. Y'all are sad AF, and nobody's impressed. And they look genuinely taken aback by this. And
he's British.
He's like, obviously, this can't be. He is British. Mm-hmm. Okay. He's like, this obviously can't be all you're doing. Like, why is this? What are you even after? And when they say something about that they are like, you know, losing, he says something like, you're losing the war. He retorts like, that's impossible. And the commander, or not commander, because the Centauran is a commander, Colonel Mace is like, what war? And he talks about a war between the Centaurans and the Rutens. And apparently this is a war that has been going on for 50,000 years, which just feels excessive after a point. Like, how are we still going to be embroiled in Iraq and Afghanistan in 50,000 years?
Probably.
The Earth will be long dead. It'll be fine. But yeah, these guys are like the Capulets and the Montagues, apparently, if they just kept cloning themselves and making bad choices. And they start doing their fucking little chant.
Santa.
He signs off. Right, exactly. And he signs off and this little cartoon starts up.
Yeah.
What is this?
It's an actual cartoon.
Anything?
Yeah. Hold on. I can tell you what it is because it was like in the trivia, but none of the trivia was really worth sharing, but I will pull up this episode really quick and tell you what it is because it is something from Poison Sky.
The like emblem for unit is still in the corner throughout like the broadcast of this cartoon. So I guess like their TVs just say unit on them all the time, which feels silly. I would love it if the Centaurans picked this show to be the thing for whatever reason.
The show is called Tommy Zoom. It's from CBeebies, which I guess is like the kids channel of the BBC, I would assume.
Oh, that's clever. CBeebies. Oh, I love it. Okay.
And then their original plan was to use a clip from Shaun the Sheep, but it fell through.
Why did they want it? Like, what reason did they have for picking what they picked?
They probably were able to get it. No.
Okay.
But there is a link to click on. Tommy Zoom is a children's animated television series shown regularly on CBeebies in the UK. It started out as a feature on the CBeebies website, but proved so popular it was made into a television show.
Interesting.
Oh, the little picture that they show on this Wikipedia page is real cute. Cuter than what we saw.
Of the cartoon?
Yeah. It's got a little cute, like, fox dog and this, I guess, Tommy Zoom. He's adorable. He's an adorable little cartoon. Yeah.
Well, I like the idea that the Centaurans picked this on purpose for some weird reason.
Oh, no, the doctor just changed the channel. He was like, I'm not listening to this, and just changed the channel.
Oh, he changed it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought that they, like, signed off.
No.
And that what was playing, like, that they took over a channel. And then when they signed off, the channel went back to its, like, previous programming.
No.
But, okay, yeah, you're right. Because then he switches back and is, like, basically, like, you're going to play ball. And, let's see. I'm trying to think. So, Donna... he's like sending her signals on what to do, she thinks, but he's not being clear enough for her to like take action on anything. And I guess what it was really that he just wanted her to be alert and waiting for his signal.
Yeah.
But in the moment, I was having the exact reaction that she was, which was basically panic. Like, she's sure that there's something that he's expecting her to do and that she is just too stupid to have caught it. You know, she missed whatever the rest of the signal was and is sitting there, like, puzzling over and obsessing about whether or not she's going to manage XYZ. And it actually turns out to be, like, stand by sort of signal. Mm-hmm. I would hate to be in her position. I appreciate so much the dialogue that comes up when it's time for her to start doing some shit. Because rather than just immediately being like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. It's consistently her going like, but they might see me. But what if they kill me? But they're out there. But, and like, correct. That is how you should react. And I like that the doctor apologizes and is like, look, I know this sucks and I'm really sorry. I wouldn't ask you, but literally we have no choices right now. This is all the only option that we've got in front of us that could lead to taking these guys down. Because I feel like there is a thing with like, you know, how ballsy his companions have been thus far and how willing to take risks they have been. In a way that, like, sure, that could be, one could argue, the reason that he chose them. But you don't necessarily know that that's going to be how somebody is when they're, like, for example, he meets Rose after the encounter with the mannequins coming to life in London, right? Mm-hmm. And she has guts in that episode. But she's also, like, not for nothing. She's on her home turf in a way that feels very significant. And the doctor is with her after they, like, team up for most of it. And so what Donna's experiencing here, yeah, she's technically on Earth, but this is not an area that she knows. And she's dealing with an alien race that she's already seen get pretty violent. And she's alone, you know? Mm-hmm. So I kind of like that we're getting somebody who's got a bit, I don't even want to say more of a sense of self-preservation, because that makes it sound like the other companions like didn't care about themselves. But it was just so much more of a, like, taken for granted that they would do what he asked them to do without question because they knew it needed to be done.
Do you think that it is a factor of they're younger than her?
I think that could definitely be.
Like, she's a grown-up.
I know that my caution has grown as an adult.
Yeah. Like, Rose was supposed to be 20. Mm-hmm. And Martha is still, like, a medical student. Mm-hmm. Like, she hasn't even taken her medical boards yet, which means that if she's anything, she's an intern. So she's maybe 28 at most.
Okay.
And then there's Donna, who is clearly mid to late 30s. Mm-hmm. So that could be a factor, too, where you're a person that's a little older, more experienced, is going to be a little more cautious, is going to ask some more questions and not be so brazen to be like, yeah, sure, I'll just run straight into that fire.
Yeah. And, I mean, I just really appreciate it, you know? Mm-hmm. Because part of being brave is knowing that you're taking a risk and doing it anyway. Yeah. People can be called brave sometimes when really it's not that they were brave, it's that they didn't think things through.
There's a line that is said in Game of Thrones, the TV show, but also in the book by different characters. But essentially what Ned Stark told Bran in the books and Robb in the show is that the only time a man can really be, or a person can really be brave, is when they're afraid. Mm-hmm. And that always stuck with me because I was like, that's very wise and very true.
Yeah. Yeah, so thanks, Donna, for being brave. You're great. So let's see. We go to her family, who has sealed themselves into the house because this gas is like filling the fucking city. There's some talk from like the news stations about how they say that like in the U.S. the shores look like Dunkirk. Yeah. Because people are just like piling into boats and trying to get the fuck away from cities and from land as much as they can. And anybody who lives in like rural areas, they're like, yeah, you're lucky. Stay there. Do not come to the city. It's a bad scene. Have you seen Dunkirk, the movie?
I haven't, but I bought it on Blu-ray and I have not yet watched it.
I want to watch it so bad. I wanted to see it because I heard that it was just like unbelievable in the theater, and I wanted to see it in the theater so bad, and I'm bummed that I missed out on it. I feel like it wasn't out for that long.
It wasn't,
but,
and yeah. Krista wanted us to cover it because it came out not that long after we had done Band of Brothers. Like maybe a few months after we finished Band of Brothers. So she really wanted us to cover it, but with my work schedule at the time, I just was never able to get to the theater to see it.
Yeah.
But she saw it in the theater. She said it was really good.
Yeah, I think Ryan Reisman also saw it in the theater, and I think he was part of the reason that I was feeling like even more eager, because I really loved the trailer, but he went and saw it like in one of those IMAX theaters and was just like, holy fucking balls, man. But anyway, I didn't really like talk about it because I just sort of was like, everybody laughs at Radigan and is like, bye, bud. But the scene where he explains to them what this has all been for, and the fucking theatrics is so hilarious. It is so cringy, you guys. I swear to God, it is so fucking like wannabe. It's almost like he imagines himself to be doing like an Apple product presentation and thinks that he's like on a stage with all of these people waiting with bated breath to hear about his like new amazing invention. And the over the topedness is not even like, oh, this actor is just really hamming it up. This feels true to the person that Radigan is. Like, there are people out there who do behave like this, and I feel like he is really good, this actor, at nailing what somebody like Radigan is like in terms of their showmanship and their misunderstanding, really, of what they look like to other people. He's coming out here thinking that he's being really impressive. And it's embarrassing. It's super embarrassing. It's like watching somebody with way too much confidence get on a stage and sing something. And even if they're on key, they just have this like vibe about them that you're like, oh my God, I can't stand watching this, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, the whole way he did, like, I hated him so much. And I'm sure this actor is like a really lovely person, but I hate him.
Jason's sister, who listens to our show, hi Jess, she said like, she loves the Santarans, but she doesn't really love these episodes. But part of the reason she doesn't love these episodes is because her ex-boyfriend looks just like the guy who plays Radigan.
Oh no.
And also sort of behaved in that way. She said he was also a rich snob.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing for him to just be like, everybody has made fun of us. I'm so smart and so rich. The world really never gave me a fair shake. God, dude, get the fuck over yourself. When are straight, rich, white men gonna get a chance in this world?
I know. They've been so beat down for centuries.
It's really like, we really need to do something about it, guys. The system is rigged.
Yeah, totally.
Straight, white, rich men.
Yep. I mean, more than anyone else.
Oh, guys, it's so funny though. He's so good. Like, this is just a character that I feel like I have hated him as a villain more than anybody, easily more than the Santarans.
You probably the only one that came close was the guy who had the vault in Utah where the Dalek was, who had like all the space artifacts.
Right.
Who was also another rich, white American man.
You know who I also hated was the guy who did the Lazarus thing. He was the worst. But
that's so funny.
He was like the worst in such a way that it didn't get to me in a very real sort of sense the way that these guys are. So yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like he had survived and then turned into the American collector. That feels like totally the fucking character arc for somebody like him. I didn't get to be friends with these aliens like I thought, but I'm definitely going to obsess over alien objects and culture for the rest of my life in a futile attempt to make a place for myself in the world since Earth won't have me.
Yeah.
So we have a really touching phone conversation between Donna and her grandpa. And he is basically like telling her that he has total faith in the fact that she is going to solve this problem and that she needs to make sure the doctor takes care of her. And, you know, if he doesn't, he has me to answer to if he doesn't fix this whole problem. And she's all by herself and she can't bear to tell him like how badly the situation is going.
Yeah.
And I just felt so bad for her in this scene. She's just so good. She's a good actress.
I, in this episode, kind of felt bad for her as an actress because they've made Donna have to do a lot of crying in a lot of episodes. And while she does it very well, she's great with comedy, she's also really solid when it comes to dramatic acting, and she cries really well. I feel bad for Catherine Tate to be like, every week I'm crying.
Yeah, I could see that.
But she's a different type of companion, so she's more, not like she's more sensitive to the plights of these creatures that she's coming in contact with, but she kind of is.
She's got more of an adult perspective overall,
yeah.
I think.
And yeah, so she's just emotionally affected by situations, and because she's not running, you know, face first into fire and not worrying about it, you know, like Rose just ran towards danger all the time.
Yeah.
And Martha just did what she was told.
Yeah.
And didn't question why.
She wanted the doctor's, like, approval.
Yeah.
And that factored, I think, a lot into her just doing whatever he said.
Yeah, and she never questioned it. And then here's Donna who's like, okay, I hear you. I have some questions. And also, this kind of sucks, and I'm sad, because what if my family dies? And what if I die? And this is all very stressful. And as somebody who tends to, if I get very overwhelmed emotionally, I will cry out of frustration or fear. I get it. I just would like an episode where she doesn't cry.
That's fair.
Not that it makes her weak.
Spoilers for The Magicians, but there is a female character who has been really given a bit of a garbage role and has spent practically 2 straight seasons so far. I'm on the 2nd season, but I'm in the beginning of the 2nd season, so it may wind up resolving. But she has just been in a desperate, sad panic since almost the beginning of the show. And I can't imagine how exhausting it must be for her to have done that for so long. So I am really like, I totally get what you're saying. And it's an unfortunate thing that women wind up in these roles so much of the time, specifically.
Yeah, and a lot of times when you have a character that cries all the time, it's shown as a weakness, and they're not doing that with Donna. It never feels like she's weak. No. She's not weeping because she is too afraid to move or she can't handle the situation. She's crying because she legitimately is sad about what's going on with the Ood, or sad about Pompeii, or scared that she and her loved ones may die. It's all legitimate reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like far from feeling like she's weak, her crying the way that she does and being so convincing with it reminds me of the stakes much more effectively than anything else.
Yeah.
And grounds things in a way that feels like she is aware that she could die.
Yeah.
And that means something versus it being just like a hypothetical, like, yeah, we could die, but I don't really think that's going to happen. And neither do these characters, clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, agreed. So then we have the doctor just like kind of fighting. He's not fighting. He's watching the unit people kind of fighting with their own machinery that's supposed to be setting off the nukes. Mm-hmm. And unbeknownst to them, Clone Martha has set up something on her phone to keep them from being set off.
Yeah,
and
it like
they
has
constantly like get it reset and then try again, and she keeps like thwarting them.
Yeah, it gets down. They're like doing a countdown, like when a rocket goes off, and she keeps stopping the countdown. Basically, which
is actually really funny to me. I know in the end it turns out that this is what the doctor wanted. Mm-hmm. But in the moment, the idea that she just has a button on her phone that she can be like, nope. Yeah. Over and over again to this hugely elaborate system that they have in place to like get this all. And it's just like the fucking app, and she's just like, nah, dat it.
It's like when you get a phone call now and you can accept or deny, and it's a red or a green button.
Is it just me? Have you been getting more spam phone calls than usual?
I get a lot of them, yeah.
I don't know what's happening, but I feel like in the past 2 months, it has just fucking gone up exponentially for me. And I did not give my number out to anybody. I don't know where this is coming from. They're trying to sell me fucking insurance. Guys,
mine, they don't even leave voicemails. And
yeah, most of mine don't either. That's true.
And there was one that I was getting a lot that kept telling me, if I didn't respond, somebody was going to, you have 3 more days to respond or you will be served with legal papers. You have 2 more days. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I haven't done shit. I'm not being sued by anyone. I didn't skip out on my taxes or whatever. This is bullshit. They're just trying to get me to answer so that I end up giving them my personal information.
Right. Totally.
And so I generally block those numbers as I start to figure out okay, this number keeps calling me, and I block it.
Yeah, I have a service on my Verizon that will label things as potential spam. Mm-hmm. So the number doesn't even show. It'll just say potential spam, and then I can ignore it and make it so that they can never call again.
Yeah, I don't have that. But
it's still, they wind up fucking calling anyway, though. They get through. It fucking drives me nuts. So, yeah, she's over here and she keeps stopping it. He looks at her at one point and being like, why do you think this is happening? And she's like, how should I know? And I'm like, girl, you are just such a dope if you don't see that there's a reason he's asking you the way that he's asking you.
But
come on.
She's not a she. She's just a clone. She doesn't know subtleties.
But she's still a dope. Listen. Oh, and then we get a sad scene where the Centaurans kill a dude of ours, Ross.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ross. I was hoping that he was just going to get made into a clone or something, that he could get brought back. But nah, Ross gets bopped with a laser. Bop. You know how lasers do.
Yep, that's the noise they make.
Bop, 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 bop. And that was sad. I was surprised at how sad I was about that. And the fucking guy, Mace, who's in charge, it's he's specifically telling everybody to do the opposite of what the doctor says merely for the sake of being a fucking, dick nozzle.
Basically, he, knows that the doctor has a higher authority than him, but refuses to accept it, and then just decides to ignore everything the doctor says, even though Martha brought the doctor to them because they needed him.
Right, exactly.
But still, he's I don't accept your authority, even though when I first met you, I tried to salute you because obviously you are, you have higher clearance than I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it just feels it feels so petty.
Yeah.
And he winds up getting these guys killed because the doctor tried to tell him, get them out of there.
Yeah.
And he just, like, fucking gave him the finger and was like, open fire. You fucking douche. I hope that the lives of all of these people rest heavy on your head. You jag.
And that's not unlike most, like, higher-ups in the military. Krista and I talked about this, again, with Band of Brothers, because when we were reading the book, there was a lot more detail about some of the directives that they were given. Plus, I did a ton of research, and a lot of times I found that these generals who were never actually out on the battlefield were giving directives of things that they wanted to happen because on paper it should work. And even when the people on the ground were like, that's not going to work, they made them do it anyway. And, you know, like, we'll do this now because we want to, you know, get into Berlin by this date. And all the people are like, if we do that, it's going to get a lot of people killed. And they're like, no, this is what we need to do. And then a bunch of people get killed. And then they're like, oh my God, that was just a disaster. How are we supposed to know?
We're so shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Ugh. It's so irritating. Yeah. All right. So this guy is just sucking and getting people killed, and I fucking hate him. Meanwhile, the Centaurans come back to Radigan's place and are like, where is everybody? And he's like, they didn't have the imagination to believe. He's Bane now. And they are like, oh, that's too bad. You got rid of our target practice. And he's like, wait, what the fuck? And they're like, yeah, what? You thought that you were like one of us? Bruh. No. You're a dum-dum. And we used you. Because it was easy. Because you're sad. And he just essentially like bugs out when they're about to kill him. And they call it cowardly. A cowardly escape.
Mm-hmm.
Which... that is one of my favorite things, is when people call being perfectly reasonable being cowardly. There's a moment in Community where they're playing a video game, and like really the only way to win this game is to either get extraordinarily lucky or to study the game for years so that you have like all of the rules memorized, or to team up with your fellow players. And one of the characters at one point after they've teamed up together says, I see that you have chosen cooperation, the coward's strategy. And that is kind of how I feel like the Centaurans would be about literally anything. Just, you know, if you're not just barreling through head first, you're a coward. And
yeah, well, I mean, all they know is battle. And to die not in battle, or to leave a battle, makes your life pointless.
Right. I mean, guys, don't you think that we could show you a better, brighter way to be? If they're clones, do they, like, have the memories of whomever they've been cloned out of?
I don't know.
From? Like, do they wake up from their creation knowing battle already? I want to know more about these guys.
That would be a question for audience. I'm sure someone has the answer. I did look up what the Rutans were.
Okay.
They were like giant jellyfish.
Oh my god, no. That sounds horrifying.
They were just like these jellyfish creatures.
I don't like it. Ugh.
But it makes me...
Did you ever watch that show Little Nemo, the movie? Remember Little Nemo?
No. I watched Finding Nemo.
No, that's not the one. All right, never mind. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I just find it funny that there's these, like, potato soldiers, and their, like, mortal enemy are these giant jellyfish. None of it makes sense.
I mean, no, it does not, but that's fine. Yeah, in Finding Nemo, there are these, like, evil creatures that look like stingrays, except they fly through the air, the way that stingrays fly through water.
You mean in
And
Little Nemo? Because in
Is
Finding
it Little Nemo?
Well, that's what you said.
There are actual stingrays in Finding Nemo, aren't there?
Yes, and they're teachers.
That's funny.
And they...
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, bless them. Little Nemo. There are airborne stingrays.
Oh, my God.
And they are the creepiest.
Little Nemo.
It's a weird movie. I think that's the book, because I think it was based on like a French novel. I think that's the book that the stoner is reading in Cabin in the Woods, where he's like, you gotta wake up, your world is topsy-turvy.
Is that the one that's played by Topher from Dollhouse?
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's good, man. He's really good. Every time I see him in anything, I get kind of excited.
It's
because
actually
I have yet to think he doesn't do an amazing job.
It's an American comic.
It's a comic?
Little Nemo is a fictional...
The comic's not based...
It's a fictional character created by American cartoonist Winsor McCay. He originated in an early comic strip called Dream of the Rarebit Fiend before receiving his own spin-off series, Little Nemo in Slumberland.
Huh, okay. I wonder what I'm thinking of that was French. Maybe I'm thinking of The Little Prince.
Maybe you are.
But... yeah, so anyway, I'm sorry, guys. We've just been talking so long and we are still not even okay.
We're
so
close
Donna
to the end.
Has to bash one of these dudes on the back of the neck in order to take him down. And it works really, really well. She has to go through this doorway and get to a panel where she resets the system, I guess, because she has to flip all of the switches up.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these Santarans come out of one of the side exits, and she has to hide. And it honestly is a tense moment. I have to say how many times in the show I am meant to think something is tense or a close call, and it never really felt that way to me. And I don't even think while I was watching and it didn't feel like a close call, that it really occurred to me that it didn't feel like it. But when I watched this one, I genuinely, her reaction at the door opening and all of them coming clomping out, I was like, oh shit, get down! I was concerned for her. And meanwhile, he has gone outside with the colonel, and they're putting on gas masks, and he says, "Are you my mummy?" Which... they had to do it, didn't they?
Yes.
That's pretty fun. I'm not mad at him.
It's especially fun because that happened to the other doctor. But it just shows
oh yeah,
it's
exactly.
all connected. He's still the same guy. And he's just being funny.
And I love that nobody else has any fucking idea what he's referencing.
Nope.
That is purely for him.
Yep.
So, and the colonel says something I would appreciate it if you would fucking take this seriously. So he doesn't know what the doctor's referencing, but he's I know it's irrelevant and that I don't need to know what it is to know that he's being fucking annoying. And I'm you know what, Colonel? Fair. I can't disagree.
I loved it.
So he goes and does this whole speech the colonel does about we're going to take them down, yada, yada, yada. And it turns out that their ships, the Marvel Cinematic Universe ship, is really good at destroying the layer of gas over everything and clearing things right up for them. And the Doctor is a bit impressed by this. I always enjoy it when somebody manages to surprise him. It's nice. So while he's getting this little bit of news, they get attacked by the Santaran. Well, the Santarans are trying to exit the building, right? And this is when a bunch of the unit guys start to shoot at them, also use bazookas, I think, at one point. They're going hard, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
This is no joke. And the doctor goes off by himself and is saying something about how it's just like old times, me and Martha Jones, and gets her to follow him. While this fucking other Centauran is talking about how this isn't war, this is sport. The ease of this battle is ridiculous. Just shooting people down with these fucking things because their guns all stop working after a point because of the copper swelling. Is that what they said? Expanding?
I don't know.
Whatever it is. But yeah, they're just being huge dickheads and like rubbing it in the whole time as well. And the doctor gets into the area where Martha's body is. And for some reason, the clone doesn't seem worried about him getting in here.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if she realizes where Martha's body is. Like, does she not know that's where they're heading right now?
Maybe not.
I really expected her to step in and try and stop him. But there's no indication from her expression that she even knows the danger that she's about to be in. You know?
Yeah.
Is that just me?
I think that maybe she doesn't know. Like, that's not her mission, so she's not really, I can't let you in there because then you'll see where my memories that I'm using came from. Like, she's just literally a soldier that's been directed to do certain things.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And Clone Martha comes up behind him and pulls a gun, and he asks if he is supposed to be impressed. And she's like, well, don't you wish you carried a gun? I've been stopping the nuclear launch this entire time. And he's like, yeah, of course you have. That's exactly what I wanted you to do. You're a triple agent, inadvertent as it may be, but yes, you are. And she's like, what the fuck? How did you know? And that's when he says that she smells weird. And he brings up somebody. Who does he say? Because he says, you remember him, don't you? Because you've got her memories. Is he talking about Ross that got shot? I don't even remember. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't know.
Then he unplugs Martha from the thing and Clone Martha goes down. Apparently, there's some sort of symbiosis happening. And he kicks the gun away and helps Martha up, who is just like unaware of everything that has happened, and is like, dude, careful, there's clones. And he's like, no fucking shit. And as he is talking to her, he's getting a call from Donna about flicking the switches and everything, and he's in the middle of dealing with that while Martha goes and talks to her clone. And it's real weird. It's an interesting moment because she's like horrified, but at the same time very curious about what the clone makes of her life and her memories and stuff. And there's no way to save the clone. It's inevitable. It's going to die. But the clone says something about how Martha has got so many plans, so much that she wants to do, and sort of does this like reminder for her in a way of like, keep your goals clearly in mind. You have this life that you've set up for yourself, and make sure you keep pursuing that, because who knows when you might die at the headquarters of a weird clone army station. So, YOLO.
Basically.
So the doctor, for his part, is setting up something to blow up all of these Centaurans on the ship, but it would also blow him up. Mm-hmm. And Martha is like, dude, why don't you just put it on a timer? Send it up. You don't have to go. And he's like, because I have to give them the choice to turn their backs on what it is that they are about to do. And I guess I'm getting ahead because he sets that up, but he goes up there after he manages to rid the gas from the atmosphere with his fire blanket.
Yeah. And there's something about, like, Donna gets back with the TARDIS and goes to Radigan's mansion is where it goes, like, the Doctor reactivates the teleport pods.
Right.
So Donna and the TARDIS end up at Radigan's mansion, and then the Doctor uses Radigan's, like, stuff to make that atmosphere burner to build the fire. I don't know. I don't know. It's, I guess they thought it would look really cool to have this, like, wave of fire in the atmosphere around the planet, and they really wanted to do.
And it does look cool.
Sure.
I mean, that's fine.
But
sure,
trying to explain what is happening, like, whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, so Radigan decides that he is sort of, what do you call it?
He wants to redeem himself.
It's like, does he? Because that's what I was going to say. And then I was like, or does he just want revenge because these fucks screwed him over?
Well, that's probably part of it, too.
I would love to think that he wants redemption, but I feel like it's more selfish than that, in a way.
Yeah, I mean, he does sacrifice himself in order to take them out.
I guess.
But
not much of a sacrifice,
like,
am I right?
I mean, the Doctor tells him to, like, go do something clever, and so he does something clever. He teleports onto their ship and kills them and himself so that they can't...
It's kind of funny because, like, if you think about it, he didn't know that the Doctor's negotiations weren't working out.
Yeah.
So, like, these guys might have been ready to fly away, and he just comes in and blows them the fuck up anyway, and then we have, like, Torchwood Part 2 of just the Doctor just being like, what the fuck is with you guys? They were about to leave. Don't care. Bye. Oh, God. And I forgot about, because she's, like, in that weird gown, Martha is, from being cloned. So they have to get her clothes, and she says at one point, I feel like a little kid dressed up in my dad's clothes, because she's grabbed something out of the Doctor's TARDIS closet.
Well, she's also wearing his trench coat.
Right. Well, that's what I mean. She had, like, that robe from being transformed or being cloned. So she needed something to, like, cover up with. So she grabs his trench coat, says she feels like she's dressed up in her dad's clothes, and Donna is like, yeah, if you're calling him your dad, you're definitely over him.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed Donna partaking in some, like, really totally unnecessary and irrelevant girl talk in this moment. Like, it just feels very right.
Yeah.
It's what we need.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Radigan comes up, blasts this guy all to hell. There's a whole thing of everybody being like, Doctor, you can't, you'll die. And I'm just like, he'll be fine. Whatever, he'll regenerate. It's no big deal. Even if he's out in the middle of space, I have no doubt that his body would, like, still regenerate somehow, and it would be okay. But it doesn't matter, because he gets brought back, and the ship blows up there, and we have a really cute moment of Donna's family realizing that, like, the air has cleared and coming outside and dancing and waving to the neighbors. And then she, like, once everything is all taken care of, she goes and sees them and has dinner with them. And her mom is talking about how nobody's driving their cars right now because of the scare, and how she walked to the market and there are kids out there riding their bikes. And I am wondering, is this supposed to be like a message?
I don't think so.
No? Okay.
No.
Fossil fuels, guys. Makes clones. But yeah, it's a sort of I'm really, like, curious how long that would last. You know what I mean? Kind of
a day or so before people start to get lazy again. Like, man, it takes too long
to
ride my bike to the grocery store, and then I could only fit so much in my backpack and, like, the basket on this bike. So I'm going to need to use my car.
Makes me think of Jim Halpert riding his bike to work and being like, realizing that he really needs to bring a change of clothes because he is so sweaty by the time he gets to work that it's disgusting. And then they go to say goodbye to Martha, and she's on the TARDIS, and at this point, Donna is pretty much assuming that Martha's coming along with them wherever they're going. And Martha's like, no, like, this was a really fun experience. I think it made me a better person. But what I'm doing here is valuable, and I like it. And I'm going to stay here. And just as she's saying that and trying to, like, leave, the fucking doors slam in her face, and the TARDIS starts up without their say-so. And nobody apparently knows where the hell they're going. And Martha seems to think that the doctor is fucking with her at first, before he's like, no, seriously, I did not do this. She says, Doctor, don't you dare. And Donna's yelling, where are we going? And he says, I don't know. It's out of control. And when we have, like, the whole overview of, like, all of the weird stuff in the TARDIS, including his, like, floating hand, which I don't know if that is going to wind up being significant, but I don't like that he still has that. And I would very much like for it to go away. He needs to burn it or something. There's no reason to hang on to that. It's creepy as fuck.
I guess he's keeping it because it's Time Lord.
Burn it. Burn that shit.
I mean, Captain Jack held on to that for so long.
Yeah, well...
To get rid of it would be rude.
Listen. I can't help but think that if Captain Jack knew what he was going to be when he grew up, so to speak, that seeing another flesh and blood thing trapped in a jar of liquid might not be something that he was 100% behind anymore. I'm just saying. No. But yeah, Martha's yelling, you take me home right now, and cut to the end of the episode. And I managed to turn it off before some new shit started, because they love to start episodes immediately following the last one with Amazon, and it makes me crazy.
They've started doing a preview of the next episode, and it comes up really quick while the credits are running.
Yep. Yeah, you know what I do? I go, while I grab the remote. That is literally what I do. And Owen, sometimes I'll be watching this while he's like asleep still, and he just hears me fucking going crazy in the living room, and is like, you okay? And I don't answer him when he asks if I'm okay, because if I do, it will interrupt the stream of... So, yeah. I am committed, in other words, to not getting spoiled.
I appreciate it. Especially because this particular trailer actually has like a huge spoiler in it. So,
oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. I'm glad then. Yay. Yeah, I don't know what to think at all. I really don't. Like, is Martha with us for the whole rest of the season? Or is it just like this next episode? If it's just the next episode, I'm not even mad about that. But it would be kind of fun if unexpectedly she was like around for longer. But also, the actress who plays Donna, I don't want her to get shortchanged or to like feel a way about it.
Yeah.
So, you know. Yeah. Anyway, so that's the end of the episode. So I don't know. This was episode 6?
Yep.
How many episodes are there per season again?
13.
Like, okay. I was about to say like 12. I was close.
So we're about halfway through.
Okay.
Well, not even entirely, because they consider episode 1 to be the Christmas special, but really we'll go to 14 because there's 13 episodes in the actual season. So we're not quite halfway through. Almost.
Yeah, so between that and playing trailers right after, Amazon can get bent. What are you guys doing?
Really need to stop with, like, naming the seasons in a weird way. 101, 201, 301. Like, just fucking say Season 1, Season 2, Season 3, Season 4. It's just stupid.
Everybody, all of the, like, different video streaming services are very fucking annoying in their own special ways. Like, for me, I also get really angry at Netflix because they love to do the fucking auto-playing trailers.
Yeah.
And, guys, those trailers have spoilers in them. So I sometimes will try and go to Netflix for something else, and they'll just start to play some, like, Dairy Girl spoilers, which has been commissioned for Spoil Me. And I have to do that again during those to keep myself from, like, fucking getting screwed over.
Yeah, because they put it, like, at the top of the menu. So it's not even like you've chosen to, like, have your cursor stopped on it. That's just when you turn on Netflix. You can't
avoid it unless you just turn your sound off, basically.
But even if you go to, like, stuff in your actual list and you just stay there for a couple of seconds, it starts playing a scene, just a random scene from a TV show.
Yes.
Which can also get annoying because, you know, then I'm just seeing the same scene pop up 50 times.
Mm-hmm. Or it'll start playing in the, like, I have frequently pressed back on whatever I'm using. I have a Roku, but we also sometimes use, like, the Xbox. And I'm trying to get out before the next episode starts auto-playing.
Yeah.
And even though I pressed back to the main menu, because I'm still, like, the cursor is still on the episode, it'll still start playing it.
Yeah.
Despite me backing out to get away from it. So, yeah, they really need to, like, make it so that you can alter your settings for that stuff. Because you can oftentimes change preferences for, like, the desktop, but you can't necessarily change your preferences for the apps on whatever platform you're using.
And they don't give you enough time. Like,
no.
Like, when Chris and I are watching The Punisher, because I'm unspoiled for The Punisher, I would watch an episode, and then it would be a little countdown of 5, 4, 3, 2 to get to the next one. I'm like, no, I haven't even picked up my remote yet. You can't do this. You can't just start the next episode. Like, you're killing me. It's bad enough that I have to wait.
Yeah, and especially if you're using, like, a controller for something like the Xbox, you have to, like, start your controller up again. So you're, like, pressing the, like, power button, and it's, like, counting down, and you're like, fucking turn on, turn on, you know? It's stressful, guys.
I would, like, like, with Punisher, if I was watching it with Jason, I would, like, close my eyes and cover my ears, be like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, because I didn't want to accidentally see anything next. But I couldn't get to the controllers fast enough. I could see the countdown. It's like, 1 second. And so I would, like, have to run out of the room. Despite how desperately I wanted to see Ben Barnes. Still have to run out of the room.
You goober.
I know.
All right, do we have any new reviews?
No, we don't. Guys, come on.
Guys, you're hurting my feelings.
You're hurting my feelings, too.
You really, like, make me sad with this. I do have a quick announcement. I'm going to say hi to new patrons real quick, but also I want to make an announcement. I just posted this while I was talking to Jamie as well. So Rashawn and I right now are in the middle of the reread for Harry Potter, and we are going to be starting the Deathly Hallows reread tomorrow. After that reread is over, like, I have not committed to doing a lot of ancillary Harry Potter material, so I'll just say that right now. I am not averse to it in theory, but it's not in the plans right now. What Rashawn and I would like to do is read Song of Ice and Fire together. But it is a big undertaking, and it is a series that I have covered once already, and it attracted a whole lot of fuckboys. And due to that, Rashawn was a little bit reticent to dip her toe into the Song of Ice and Fire fandom. as a podcaster.
Yeah, because she's been pretty protected
the,
with that. Even covering Game of Thrones, it was patrons only.
Exactly. And some of the vitriol after the split between me and Brendan and me starting to become more aware of things and call some shit out in more certain terms than I had in the past, it was not welcomed by people who had previously been unspoiled Song of Ice and Fire fans. So she has been a little gun shy about getting into it when she knows that there are going to be people who are already subscribed to the feed that are not friendly to our points of view as women and her as a black woman. And for that reason, we decided to make it a Patreon goal. So I have set a goal on Patreon, and you can see what percentage we have reached in terms of getting to that goal if you visit patreon.com/unspoiled. And if we reach 100%, we will do the Song of Ice and Fire series as unspoiled-ish after we finish the Harry Potter reread. It will not be patrons only. The Patreon goal is what we're using instead of trying to set up a whole separate GoFundMe or something. But it will, because this is a long commitment. If we cover these books, it's going to be a few years minimum. And we wanted a sustained, income from it because we're probably going to be taking some heat from it, to be honest, for a little while at least, until people realize that we are not their cup of tea and they just decide to leave us alone. And I am keeping the amount on Patreon protected and private for reasons that I went into a little bit on the patrons only page. But really what it comes down to is that I have seen a lot of backseat budgeting from fans towards Patreon creators, mostly podcasters, but creators of any kind, really. People get very judgy about how much somebody should really deserve to make and where they're spending their money. And as somebody who's been on the receiving end of that only 2 times so far, I hated it a lot. I am already very self-conscious about being judged for where I spend my money as a poor person. Mm-hmm. And you already get scrutinized because of that. And I'm not interested in inviting more of that. So I've decided to protect my Patreon total from the public from now on. So what you'll see when you go to the Patreon page is a % of the goal. And I'm going to be giving Rashawn some of that to help her, to just basically to try and compensate her for taking this on. And also because my wedding is going to be in just over a year and it's going to be tough for her to travel to see me. So I want to make that easier. So that's part of it as well. But yeah, I would really appreciate it if any of you are interested in listening along to an unspoiled-ish Song of Ice and Fire, if you would go and become a patron. And it is going to be different than the first time around because Rashawn read the first 2 books, but that was over a decade ago. She doesn't remember them, but she did watch the whole show. So we're going to be coming at it from a very different place. She's going to know some of what's coming. She's going to have totally wrong expectations on other things that she thinks she knows what's coming, but it's not the way she expected. And the tone of it is going to be a lot more comparing, contrasting with the show, the pros and cons of doing things one way versus another, and the themes that come up when you have started to understand the world a little bit better, like I have in the past, 5-6 years. So it's going to be from a feminist and Black positive point of view. So yeah, if you're interested in seeing that, it will be after Dark Hallows or Deathly Hallows is over, and that should be up in March, if we are able to stay pretty much on schedule. So we have months to get to the goal, and that's part of why I posted it this early on. But I wanted to make sure that there was some good lead time because I would like to do this, and it interests me revisiting these books after so long. I have not read them again since the first coverage. So it's been probably 6 years now.
Oh, wow. You haven't reread them?
Mm-mm.
Wow. I guess you don't really have time.
Out, my friend. It wasn't just that. It was being burnt out. Like, Miles and Stephen Atwell and I were covering The World of Ice and Fire that came out. And I just fucking, like, kind of hit a wall. It was a combination of the book being dry AF and fans being assholes to me. And I just kind of was like, you know what, screw this, and dropped it and let it sit.
I think you're going to enjoy rereading it because you'll see things you didn't pick up on previous reads, and I think you'll reappreciate his prose. I honestly think that George R. R. Martin is just a really beautiful writer, and it gets lost in a lot of the, feelings about the show and where that left us. But I've reread the book several times, and every single time I'm like, God, how did I forget about this? Or you notice things you didn't even pay attention to before. I think you'll find it very enjoyable because you have so much distance from it too.
Yeah, I agree. That's part of my interest, is just my perspective has just shifted so dramatically.
Yeah.
And I know that there has been shit that I said on the original show that I would be like, girl, what are you doing? If I re-listen to those shows. And, it's just going to be a very different experience. So it will still feel kind of unspoiled because so much time has passed.
Yeah.
And I mean, even if you were just a regular person and you waited 7 years between rereads, it would still feel like, oh, I forgot about this and this. But when you do what I do, where you cover properties the way that I do and cram your head full of like 15, 20 different plot lines at a time, now that I'm doing Spoil Me, the distance between reading something expands exponentially because there's so much crowding into that time. And I genuinely... There have been like conversations on threads and stuff where people bring up Song of Ice and Fire characters that I loved that I completely forgot about. Completely forgot. I was like, oh, right. And oh my God, I forgot about that. Totally forgot. So, and I'm not even as like forgetful as Rashawn is. So Rashawn having gone dense. 2 decades. Yeah. They are. But she, having read the first 2 books, I don't want people to think that she remembers what happened, because she don't.
Yeah.
Like, it's been a minute. So yeah, this is going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to hopefully reaching this goal and attracting maybe some people who are interested in this kind of perspective for Song of Ice and Fire and maybe have not been able to find it, because a lot of Song of Ice and Fire podcasts sort of fell by the wayside once Game of Thrones ended, once another book failed to materialize. And, there's just a lot of podcasts out there that are hosted by straight white dudes.
Yeah.
And not all of them by any means, but, podcasts in general are saturated with that point of view. So I'm hoping we can offer something a little bit different here.
Well, and I think all of that stuff is valid, but you're asking for, to reach a certain goal so that not only you are compensated, but Roshan is compensated. I just don't think that's too much to ask for. I think it actually is completely understandable. And
yeah,
I mean, I already am a patron, even though I am a co-host and have been for a while. It's never occurred to me to, not still be a patron. And if, helping reach that goal means I increase mine a little bit, I'm more than willing to do that if it means that Rashawn gets a little bit of it as well. She's worth it.
Lady.
She's worth it. You're worth
she
it.
Is, though.
And everybody should also agree that you guys are worth it, because who doesn't want to hear the two of you talk about this series? Seriously.
Get it?
Nah.
Seriously. I make jokes when I'm uncomfortable. Okay. So thank you guys so much.
for listening. I'm going to say hi to new patrons real quick. Ayla Dunbar, Chelsea Martell, Danny, Abigail Kiner, Paulina Nguyen, Gloria Selleck, Melissa Boone, Benedict K. Valdez Stephenson. That is a fucking name and a half right there. Laura Schlotthauer, Iman, Elizabeth Kinney, and Charity Rourke all became patrons over the past 2 weeks, I think. So thank you so much to you guys. Y'all are helping us get to our goal. You're great. And I am just so delighted with the community. Like, I had a really, really, really hard couple weeks in a row at the end of September. And there were so many people that reached out and were just really, like, kind and supportive during that time. And I have not, you know, as much as I've been doing Unspoiled for quite a while now, the community like this is still fairly new. I only started this in the last, like, 3 years or so. And it's growing so much, and it's changed a lot because of the size of it. Mm-hmm. And it's really nice to have, like, people who are, what's the word I want? It's not just supportive, but, like, people who are, like, invested.
Yeah.
In what I do in a way that's very personal, and also, like, willing to reach out and just be like, hey, hang in there. Shit sucks, right? And I'm like, it does suck. Thank you for knowing that it sucks. I appreciate it. So huge thanks to everybody. I had a birthday earlier this week, and it wound up being a good one, even though the days leading up to it seemed like it was not going to be a good one. Well, and a lot of that is thanks to all of you all.
I'm glad your birthday ended up being okay.
Me too. All right, everybody. Well, we will see you next week with a new episode. And until then, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.